We're talking breast cancer on our show this morning. And when I read, this is the sense I get. Some people are aware, others also simply just ignore the signs of detecting and then treatment. So it's good that we get into the issue, particularly when October has been put aside to create awareness of this disease that is not good. My guest in studio is Dr. Florence Dede. She's a general surgeon, also a lecturer at the Ghana Medical School, and she works with a team of doctors who treats breast-related diseases. It's a pleasure to host you this morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So what should we know? I mean, Awareness Month. What would you say we should know easily?
Well, I think we all should, as women especially, because breast cancer affects women most commonly. So I would address it to women, but a few men could get breast cancer along the way. As women, we should be aware of what our breasts are like. So every woman, we talk about awareness, we talk about examination. So every woman should make it a point to examine their breasts. And once you know what your normal breasts are like, when there are changes, then you can pick it up early. Because there's not too much that can be done when it comes to prevention of breast cancer. There are some things, yes, but the emphasis is usually placed on early detection and treatment, because once you pick it up early, then you can make a lot of difference.
So how early can you pick it up then?
You can actually pick it up before it becomes something that you can feel or see. So that's when screening comes in. And in some countries, yes, they have national screening programs. We don't have that here yet. But we do some form of screening if we know breast cancer runs in families, can run in families. So if we think you have a high risk, then we advocate that you do this sort of screening that would involve x-rays and ultrasounds, which can actually pick up breast cancer early. Any woman at all can also walk in and ask for these tests to be done. But beyond that, at least we should also examine ourselves regularly, because if you do that, you pick up something before it becomes very obvious for you to see it.
So if you're not aware of anybody in your family who has probably died from breast cancer or who had it, what would you say you do? Because not everybody is aware of the medical records of other family members.
Yes. So actually, it is important that we be aware. Somehow in Ghana, we tend not to like to talk about our diseases, if I can put it that way. But it's good if it's in the family. I always tell my patients who get breast cancer that they should let other women in their family be aware, so that they know they have the risk. Let me put it that way. All right. So it's important, one, that we get to know our family history in terms of diseases and breast cancer, as we are talking about. But beyond that, what we advocate is that every woman should examine her breast every month. So once a month. Once a month is okay. More than once a month will not add anything else. So at least once a month, get a time that you will not forget, because a lot of us tend to forget. Get a time you won't forget, and then go through the process.
Who does the examination?
You can do it yourself. Yes, you can do it. So we actually call it self-breast examination, because you are examining your breast yourself. So stand in front of a mirror, look at it. That's what I mentioned, being aware of your breast earlier. So you need to know what the normal looks like. You stand in front of a mirror, you look at it, and then you use the flat part of your fingers, and then you press the breast against the chest. So you go around in circular motions till you are sure you've examined every part of the breast. If you tend to hold this way, you feel like there's a lump. Every woman feels a lump that way. But if you press, use this part of your fingers, and then you press against your chest wall, or your chest, let me put it that way, you would be able to detect if something changes. So once you've done that a few times, you know what your normal feels like. And if there are changes, then you can report.
If you're still not sure you're doing the right thing, can you just walk into a hospital?
Yes. Once you see anybody any doctor, nurses should be able to teach you what to do, so that you are able to do the right thing. So that's self-breast examination at least once a month. And then there's what we call the clinical breast examination, where a trained health professional does this examination for you. So we usually would advocate that you have that from about 20 to 30, 35, about every 3 years, and then beyond that every year. But if you have a risk or a family history, then we may want to change these times for you. And then lastly is the mammogram. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the mammogram, which is basically just an x-ray of the breast. We would recommend, or we do recommend, that it's done after 40 years usually, occasionally after 35. Before then, the breast is such that in young people, you wouldn't be able to pick much if you did a mammogram. So when you do it too early, it's not helpful. But beyond 35, definitely beyond 40, it's very helpful. And that is what may actually detect things before you can even feel them. So when they talk about where national screening is done, usually that is what is used. And then based on what you find on that, you can go ahead and do certain
There are things that I've heard concerning exposing yourself to x-rays. And that would definitely scare people, especially if you're supposed to do it every year.
Yes, so, well, actually, we say you should do it every 2 years.
Every 2 years.
For some people, every year, depending on the particular situation. But generally, we talk about every 2 years. Yes, there is a risk associated with radiation. But when we talk about risk with radiation, usually they are higher when you have radiation being used as therapy and not as a means of diagnosis. So there may be a risk, but it is very small. And when you compare the benefits as against the dangers, then really there's nothing to be worried about. Out of maybe 1,000 women who would have mammograms done, I think about 1 or even less than that would develop a cancer out of that. That is after having done it consistently for a number of years. But the number of people who would have their breast cancers picked up early and have a good outcome out of that far exceeds this number we are talking about.
Is it true that when you're breastfeeding, you are not exposed to, or you cannot get breast cancer?
No, that's not true. Because we have people who are breastfeeding, people who are pregnant, who have come. The truth is, breastfeeding reduces your risk of getting breast cancer. So we would advocate that women, when they have children, should breastfeed, because somehow there's a protective component to that. So if you've breastfed your children, then you are protected in some way against breast cancer.
Do we have situations where you examine your breast regularly, you know that you're free, but suddenly you just get breast cancer?
Yes, even with the mammograms we are talking about, you can sort of come up with a breast cancer in between the times that you have your scheduled mammograms. So it may be because you did examine but you didn't pick it up, or it showed up in between. And although we talk about breast cancer generally as one disease, there really are different types of it. So some would grow faster, some are a bit slower. Yes, so you can be sort of examining and then suddenly you pick it up one day and it looks like it's just jumped out of the blue. But it depends on the type it is and how it came up and how it's developed.
You know, when I was a bit younger, I thought, you know, the women who put monies, coins and stuff in their breasts, they were likely to get it.
I don't think so. It's something that has been mentioned, but we don't have any solid evidence to prove that is so. I really don't think that makes a difference.
Can it be treated in Ghana?
Definitely, we treat breast. Well, that is what I do, part of what I do. So breast cancer can be treated and people can be cured of breast cancer. Like I said, the emphasis is on picking it up early. That is when you can get good outcomes. So if you pick it up very early, then most people would do very well. The problem is when you come and it's already spread, it's gone beyond the breast, then being able to cure it becomes a problem. But when we pick it up early, the outcomes can be quite good.
If there's a lump in there, would you feel some pains?
Very often for breast cancer, you do not. So that is also one of the problems that keeps women away. We know here in Ghana, about maybe 60% of our patients would come in with late disease, or they would come in when it's gone on for a while. And one of the reasons why they don't come is because they found a lump but it was not painful. But what we need to know is very few cases of breast cancer would show up with pain. So most of the lumps most of the breast cancer that comes with lumps are not painful. Very few of them would be painful. So usually when you have a painful lump, it's highly unlikely that it's breast cancer. But having said that, there are a lot of other painless lumps which are also not breast cancer. So that's why when you see something, it's good to go and let your doctor have a look at it, because you just can't jump to a conclusion because I have a lump, because it's not painful, it's breast cancer. It may not be so. Most of the lumps we see actually are not breast cancer.
So you actually sometimes look into people's faces and tell them that you have breast cancer?
Well, yes. I mean, if that is what you have come with, we have to tell you. It's not very pleasant news, but like I said, if you come early, we are able to treat it.
What's the immediate thing that you should do as an individual when you're told that you have breast cancer?
That's difficult to answer. Naturally, when you hear such news, it's bad news, so to speak. So people would you go through all sorts of emotions. Denial comes in and all those things. But I think you should try and accept it for what it is. it's not a death sentence. We are able to treat it, and we have good outcomes, especially if you come early. So trying to deny it and trying to decide that or refuse it, as we would say, doesn't help, because it's there, it doesn't go away. So what you would need to do is to come to terms with it and then try and treat it. And there are various ways of doing that. We have different coping mechanisms. So some people will involve family, some people would involve church and all that. But the important thing is not to avoid the treatments that we have to offer. Unfortunately, a lot of women, because they don't want to hear about it, because they don't want to accept it, will decide to either go somewhere and pray or try some alternate medicine, and very often the outcomes from those ones are not good. So as much as you can use those to help you to cope, it's important to add that to the treatment. So come, let's treat you. And I keep saying, if you have problems, talk about it. Because there are so many things that are said about breast cancer out there. So we tell you what we have to do. You go and somebody else tells you, this treatment they're going to give you will do this, it will kill you, you have your system is going to be poisoned, all sorts of things. Go back to your doctor and tell them, this is what I have heard. What do you say about it? And then we'll talk about it and sort out the issues.
Have you come across somebody who's refused treatments?
Oh, a lot of them.
As in medical treatment?
Yes, a lot of them. A lot of them.
What's their reason?
Many reasons. One of the most common is they don't want their breast to be cut off. And I think that's one of the misconceptions. A lot of people think that to treat breast cancer, the only thing you can do is to cut off the breasts. That is not true.
And then you lose your hair as well.
Yes. So for the cutting of the breast, at times we have to do that, especially when the lump is a bit big or the disease involves quite a bit of the breast. If you come very early, that's why we keep emphasizing on early treatment. We can actually just take out the area which has the cancer and leave the rest of the breast. So it's not true that...
And it will still look like a normal breast?
Yes, a normal breast, but then it may be slightly different. Depends on how much we have to take out. So if we have to take out quite a bit, then it may look a little smaller, and there may be a few changes. But having said that, there are some techniques that can be used during the operation. So we can involve our plastic surgeons, and they can help us to sort of operate such that it looks as much like the normal one as possible. So there are various ways that can be done. So like I was saying, that's one of the common reasons I'll cut off, you cut off my breast so I won't come. You mentioned losing the hair. That's got to do with chemotherapy. A lot of people lose their hair when they go through chemotherapy. But having said that, there are different types of drugs that are used for chemotherapy. So not all of them would let you lose your hair. A lot of them would, but you lose your hair during the time of treatment. Afterwards, the hair grows back. And the thing is to weigh the benefits as against the risks.
Okay.
So some people will tell you, don't do it because they're cutting off your breast, you won't be a woman again, you lose your hair. But what they don't tell you is if you don't do it, what would happen? So we need to look at both sides of the coin. If I'm going to go through treatments that would let me lose my hair, afterwards it will grow back again, and at the end of it I'm going to be well, would you not take that as against not having the treatment and the disease taking you away? Yes.
So fear of losing the breast, the hair?
Yes, the hair, and then cost. Cost is also an issue. So with the health insurance, it helps a bit, but it doesn't cover everything. So there still is an element of costs. And then, I mean, generally, some people just they're afraid. They have all sorts of conceptions about what it is. Even just the fear of the outcome of the disease, because some people think once you have cancer, once you have breast cancer, it means I'm going to die. That's not true. If you don't treat it, that is when you die. But if you treat it, then you can make a difference.
Yeah. I'm going to take a break. When we come back, is it possible that you treat it, but maybe after a year or two, it comes back? I've listened to the story of one person who was able to treat the cancer, and then there was a bone marrow situation that also, showed up. And that was because of the cancer treatment itself. And I'll also be joined by one lady who had it and successfully treated it. You're watching the AM show. This is my banner. We're talking breast cancer. Stay with us.
If a citizen, and there's people demanding, needn't even be majority of the people. If truly some section of the people or most of the people or whatever should feel that they need to be sure of the quality of the votes deciding who should govern, those people should be entitled And the Electoral Commission is accountable. It's accountable to the people generally. The Electoral Commission is a power, not a power unto itself. I think this should be made clear. Yes, the Constitution provides for its independence, but that same Constitution has as its cornerstone accountability and transparency. Accountability to the source of power, and that source is the people, the citizenry. The Electoral Commission is accountable, and our Electoral Commission must be transparent.
Auntie Gladys Boateng, who is CEO for Reach for Recovery, has also joined in the conversation. She's got a personal story that she'll be sharing with us. Good morning and thank you for coming.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. So when were you diagnosed of the disease?
It was in October 1999.
Okay.
99. I've gone to the hospital for a different issue, but the doctor examined me and then found that a part of my breast is very hard. And so he told me to see a surgeon. And after I've seen, he said he's doing something called biopsy, and after he says it was cancerous. And so then I have to have a surgery. But I did obey. I have the surgery. Before then, I also did what others. I went for prayers, and one person, not in my church, told me that if I go to hospital, I'm going to die, and my hair is going to fall off. I was going to be very small, which I was waiting for. It never came, and that I would die. So when I went to do the surgery, I asked the doctor for a second opinion because I feel I'm healed. Then he said, this is too obvious, you are going for surgery. And after all the tests and everything, I went for surgery. And he said, out of 9 lymph nodes, it has gone to 1 little node. And so that was it.
You know what? One of the things I wanted to know from Dr. Dede is how a patient would receive the news that you have breast cancer. So how was it like for you?
Well, it was scary because at that time I didn't know of any survivor. Now I know a lot of survivors who have survived 30 years, 20 years. But at that time I didn't know, and the people I knew were dead because I used to have a salon in Cantonment, and some customers who come, I lost about 3 of them. One was even a nurse. And most of the people I found out that were not going to hospital. They were in the house or using other methods. So the disease spread and they died. So it wasn't that they went to hospital and died.
So what did you lose? Your breast, your hair?
You know, I didn't lose my hair like Dr. Dede. Surprisingly, my hair rather grew when I have the picture that my hair grew. It didn't fall out, and I didn't become small. I rather put on.
Even though you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I was looking forward. Yeah, I'm trying to lose weight. Cancer will make me very small, but it didn't happen that way.
What happened to your breast?
It was taken. The right breast was taken.
Completely?
Yeah. So I wear a silicone prosthesis. But when I had a surgery, a survivor from Reach for Recovery in South Africa came to visit me, and he brought me a goodie bag. I brought it here, and inside the goodie bag there's a temporal prosthesis, exercise sheet, a ball to exercise. And so I was happy because I've gone to the hospital with 2 breasts. How am I going to come out? I have no idea. But this survivor who came to visit me said he has survived she was 29 years, and she has survived the disease for 9 years. So I was really encouraged that somebody, at last, I've seen somebody who has survived this disease. So
I'll come back with more. There are so many questions I want to ask you right now. But this is definitely not surprising to you. You've seen a lot of people come through and survive. Can we go back to the issue of, can it come back?
Yes, so it can come back. The nature of cancer is that it spreads. And as much as we try and deal with it, there are times when you think you've dealt with it a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it may show up again somewhere. So you mentioned something about bone marrow. Okay, that was different. It was from the treatment. But yes, it can go to the bones, it can go to the brain, it can go to the liver, it can go to the lungs. Some people would come and it's already gone to these places, but others, even after the treatment, it can go. So, I mean, really, cancers are tricky diseases to treat. They are difficult diseases to treat. That's why there's a fear associated with cancer. But the more we study, the better we get at treating it. So, yes, it can come back, but increasingly, people are doing better with treatment.
Has the treatment itself got effects negatively?
Yes, definitely, every treatment has effects. I always say that even paracetamol that we all take and think can't cause any harm has side effects. So every medication has side effects. And because cancer is sort of a difficult disease to treat, you need more powerful drugs to treat it. So the treatment definitely can give you side effects. This hair loss we talked about is a side effect. There are other side effects that you could have. So yes, there are side effects, but the thing is the side effects are not very common. Some are common. So usually we would tell you about that one, the hair loss, vomiting, feeling tired, those things. We usually would tell you about the very common side effects. Some are very rare and they would not occur very often. But yes, occasionally you would get these things happening.
This disease can take you to a very lonely world. What kind of people do you need around you?
Definitely, I think your family, because for all of us, I think our families are the people who are closest to us. So family and probably some friends as well. We are all different, but for me, I would think family, friends. And some people would have maybe people from church, pastors, stuff like that. At times, we involve psychologists because we realize that the person is having difficulty coping. So beyond even this network of people, that it still may be difficult, so we involve psychologists. Auntie Gladys talked about survivors. They play a very important role. Because as much as you would come to me and I'll tell you, I've seen people, I've treated people and they've done well, somehow they tend not to believe us very much. But when they see somebody who's actually had treatments and has gone through it and the person is physically standing in front of them, it helps them a lot. So we involve survivors, and Rich for Recovery, like Auntie Gladys mentioned, helps us a lot. They come to the wards, they see our patients.
Is there a challenge for doctors who treats the disease as well in Ghana? Do we have all the infrastructure that we need?
I wouldn't say we have everything we need. Like everything else, we have difficulties. So one of it would be, you've mentioned infrastructure. In Korle Bu, yes, we have a lot of things, but Korle Bu is not Ghana, it doesn't serve Ghana. So when you take the whole country, there's a lot that has to be done, or a lot more that could be done, even in terms of personnel, not just infrastructure, but personnel. So how many breast cancer treatment is, would say, multidisciplinary. It involves a lot of different types of health personnel. So the surgeons, the oncologists, the radiologists, those who read your x-rays and your ultrasound, the pathologists, those who read the biopsies. We've mentioned psychologists. Auntie Gladys talked about exercise. So at times we need physiotherapists, a whole spectrum of individuals. And when you go across the country, how many of these do we have everywhere to be able to take care of this? So even the personnel, and then of course the expertise. So you need sort of extra training to be able to do some of the things very well. Do we all have that infrastructure? Even when you take mammogram machines, how many of it do we have across the nation? When you take places where you can have surgeries done, is it adequate? So there's a lot that we need to do. And then we need to do a lot more research as well, because we realize that we probably kind of extrapolate from what has been done elsewhere. But increasingly we are realizing that the type of cancers that we have may be a bit different from what other people have elsewhere. So it's important that we do our own research, and research involves a lot. It involves a lot of money, a lot of time, people. So we need a lot more research to be able to study what we have here.
Do we do any at all?
Oh yes, we do. We do. There is some research out there, but a lot more is needed. A lot more is needed so that we can tailor it to what we have here in our particular situation. We've talked about our coping mechanisms. People cope differently. Elsewhere, people would report earlier and would go through with the treatment. More of them would than we would. So why is it that our people behave this way? We need to study all these things, and then we can work at correcting it.
Sure. Auntie Gladys, were you married then?
Yes, I was, with 3 children.
Okay, so you were not worried that no man would like you?
No, I wasn't worried.
But did you think about what your husband would think?
No, I didn't. You know, I was fighting for my life, so I didn't think of that.
Was he there for you?
He was working with the UN, so he was away from the hospital, but we talked. But at the moment, we are separated.
Okay. What, how did you come through? You said somebody visited you.
Yeah, the person visited me because when the doctor told me out of 9 lymph nodes, it has gone to 1. Then a patient in the hospital became my second doctor. He was trying to educate me. What the doctor meant is that it has gone to my system. It will appear here. And he put such fear in me. I remember one time I was standing by the window and the lady, I had a pain in the shoulder. He said, oh, if it has gone to your bone, then it's... So I told the doctor, and he asked me to go to another hospital and do a bone scan. And when it came, it was negative. Nothing was there. So I was encouraged. And then the visitor from Reach for Recovery South Africa came to visit me. So I was really encouraged with the things he brought me. Seeing her alone made me feel better, that at least I've seen one person for the first time who have survived breast cancer. Not knowing there were more in my country, but I didn't know of them.
Did this stop you from doing anything? This story, which has stayed on my mind, is about a young broadcast journalist. What happened was, she was energetic. She was doing everything right, and then suddenly she had the news that she had breast cancer. She was able to treat it, but then it extended. Afterwards, she had this bone marrow issue that was also successfully treated, but her job was waiting for her the whole time. She went through treatment for about a year, but she came back to the job again. Was it the same for you? But you were doing your own thing.
Well, I wasn't working. I was because my husband was in the UN, I was following him around. So I wasn't really working. But later on, I started working. I used to be a hairdresser in Cantonment, but that was before I traveled, so I stopped. But when I saw the survivor and I was so encouraged, I told the doctor the following week when he saw me, he could see a change in me. And he said, what happened? And I said, I went to Reach for, because I didn't know of any person who was alive, and I thought, when you get it, you die. Then after seeing this survivor, I was challenged, and I told the doctor, when I go to Ghana, I'll do the same. And so I came and I told the prof, and he said, people who come in contact with support group, they do well. So after 2 years, when I was better, I started going around the world rounds, visiting. I visited about 70 people with the same bag that I was given, with the pillow, the temporal prosthesis.
We'll show the bag in a bit.
Yeah, so I started giving it to them, and when they see you, that you say you have survived it, they are very happy. Sometimes you visit depressed people, and after sharing with them, they become better. They feel better, because our presence alone let them know that they are not alone in their situation. And that, so, it helps. It helps.
So this is the bag you've been talking about?
Yeah, this is the goodie bag. And it has
do we have this in Ghana? Do we have any bags we give them?
I made them.
Auntie Gladys takes care.
Yes. So we've given over 4,000 people with the course of 12 years. We've given a lot to people, and we've comforted them. And this is exercise sheets. The exercise to do after surgery is all there. Number 1 to 8. Most of the exercise you do to strengthen your arm. This thing. And then a 32-page mastectomy guide. It tells you about the surgery you've done, the side effects, how to take care of your arm, your teeth, and other things. There's a lot of information. But it doesn't take the place of your doctor. Everything you have to tell your doctor. But it gives you something like a low blood count. You know what is it when you are told some terms that is being used. And then this is the temporal prosthesis. It's a fiber. You don't need the silicone straight after you have done the surgery. You need something soft to put there, because the place is not totally healed. So after some months, you can buy the silicone prosthesis. And so this all Then a pillow for the comfort of your arm. Thank you. This pillow is for the comfort of your arm as you are sitting down or you are lying down. You put it under the shoulder or the hand where it has been affected. So you do that. And then the bag itself is for you to carry the drainage. There's a drainage. They attach a tube and a drainage from the site of the operation. And sometimes you see people carrying that one or putting it in the rubber. Reach for a cab, you want it to be tidy. So you put it in this one. You are going to see somebody off or you are going to the bathroom.
There's a lot of swag in this.
Yeah. So that is it. And all these are given to patients free. We don't charge them, and we want them also to feel that they are not alone. So that is, and we do have monthly meetings where we bring in, because people talk a lot outside. You are hearing, don't eat this, don't go there, don't see the doctor. So we bring in doctors like surgeons, oncologists, physiotherapists to show us best exercise, psychologists when somebody died to come and strengthen us. So we do have this month, now it's not monthly, it's going quarterly. Meetings, and then we take the survivors also sometimes out. We've gone to Bojo Beach, Kakum Park, you know, for them to have fun, because cancer alone is a lot of problems. So occasionally we have fun, and we have Christmas party for survivors. Some people come out of Accra and Ghana to be treated, and they stay at the mother hostel, and some are around. So we have a Christmas party so they don't miss home to entertain them. So there's a lot of things we do.
Did you have fears that the cancer could return?
Yeah, I do. I bother Dr. Dede a lot. Sometimes I say, I feel something here, then I go, because sometimes when they get treated, they don't want to know that there's cancer. People disappear. When they come with this thing. So I quite bother them. Sometimes I say, I felt something here, I felt something here, so I go. And it's a continual check, you know, so that if there's anything, it's a fight. You tackle, they will tackle it for you. So that is.
So how many years have you survived now?
16 years.
16. That's a lot of years. Could it come back?
Well, it could. Like we said, you could see it come back many, many years. There's no limit to, you can't say I've gone 20 years so it wouldn't come back. It could come back at any time. At times, it's what we call a new cancer. So once you've had one before, you are at a slightly increased chance of getting it again. So it may not be the first one that has spread per se, but it could be a new cancer coming up. There's a possibility. But I like what Auntie Gladys said, it's a fight. So if it comes back, you're better off picking it early and then working on it, rather than sitting there and deciding that it is not there. Meanwhile, it's there and it's growing. So the import of the message is pick it early and then fight against it.
Auntie Gladys, the treatment is very expensive from what I hear.
Yeah.
How did you manage it?
Well, because of the UN, I have insurance that is outside Van Breda. So they took care of the surgery in South Africa and all the treatment. Now, even when I buy medicine in anything, because I'm also a diabetic, I send the bills to them and they refund. And that is what the painful aspect here, because it's expensive, people cannot afford. People are always coming to my office for assistance. And sometimes I take them around and other people help pay. And the National Health Insurance, you know, it doesn't cover all, it covers some. So we are pleading that maybe more medicine will be covered. And other private insurance will also come in and make it cheaper for people too. Because it's one thing that you are told that you have cancer. And if you are a salary worker, the medicines, some are very expensive. Very, very expensive. So you need help. And that is why we plead either the government do something, reduce the tax on drugs so that it will be cheaper for us to buy, or more insurance, private insurance will come in, because without insurance, maybe I couldn't have made it. Yeah.
How many survivors do you have in your team?
There are plenty. I mean, we visited so many people. Some died and some are there. But when we go for a meeting, sometimes we get 60 people come in. But when it's a party, they always tell me they want a party. Then we get about 200 coming.
Do you have men in there?
In the group, we don't have men, but I know of men survivors. We visit a lot of men in the hospital. And especially one man who was telling me, he used to work at PNT, he said, I was watching TV and they were talking of breast cancer. So I called my wife, oh, Ajua Kamu, this is women issue. But as he was listening, they said men also can get breast cancer. And then there was a lamp by the side of the breast he's been playing with as he's sitting down, he's going and, you know. So he went and checked and it was cancerous. So the breast was also taken and he was treated. You know. One time I was speaking at a college for physician and surgeon. There was a symposium there and he got up and he shared the story also. So men also do get.
Yeah. Dr. Dede, you mentioned to me earlier that you've had a teen had it, you know, like a 16-year-old. Okay. What kind of, what's the age with the issues that we're reporting, and what are the breast-related diseases that we're reporting these days?
So when it comes to breast cancer, usually for us in Ghana, the commonest age group or the peak age is in the 40s. Generally, as you grow older, your risk increases. I said I've seen one, I think 16 or 17, but that is very rare. It's not common. So teens, 20s, 30s, not so common. From 40s going, then that becomes more common. In terms of the breast diseases that we see, yes, breast cancer is one of them. But like I said, a lot more of the things we see are not breast cancer. So there are other lumps, and we call them benign lumps. Commonly you can have what we call fibroadenomas or fibroadenosis. They can be just simple cysts. There can be infections, abscesses. So there are a host of things that may go wrong with the breast. Cancer is not the commonest, but it is one of them.
So cancer is not the commonest breast disease in Ghana?
No, not at all.
Which one is?
Not at all. There are two of them, so either fibroadenomas or fibroadenosis. Okay. Fibroadenomas usually will just be a painless lump. So you feel a lump, it's not painful, it's movable in the breast, and often we take it out, but sometimes you could actually just leave it and watch it because it would not become a cancer. A lot of people feel uncomfortable with lumps, and especially if the woman is a little older, then we may not be very comfortable ourselves, so we'll take it out. Fibroadenosis involves just sort of general lumpiness of the breast, and people who have that tend to get some pain just before their menses. So the breast feels a bit heavy, more lumpy, a bit painful. A lot of women have that. Actually, many people don't even come to hospital with it because you live with it and it's kind of normal. But when the pain kind of gets a bit excessive, or maybe you've heard about cancer and you're not too sure, then they would show up in hospital. But those are things that we usually don't have to do too much about.
Okay. Auntie Gladys, having survived this for such a long time, what would you say to people? I mean, what are the things that we should all know?
That breast cancer is like any other disease and can be treated when caught early. And I also want to share this. Sometimes people, because of losing their breast, will run around and go and use all kinds of untested traditional salts before coming to the hospital, only to die. And when they have bought this concoction expensively, they come to hospital and now they don't have any money. We were going around the markets and screening them. About 3-4 years, we did a screening at Kaswa market. And we've gone to the market to talk to them. We were doing the screening in the school by. We invited the market women to come. They didn't come. We took the bus and went into the center of the market, make a place there for them to come. One woman I have to talk to, but when he came and removed the brazier, then I found contumely with palm oil on a big wound. And you know, these things will even give you more infection, make the thing worse. Cancer is deep. The doctor has shared with us the treatment and everything. So the contumely and the palm oil on top of the breast is worsening it. It can't go inside. When my breast was removed, I have to do chemotherapy. I have to do radiation. I did all, you know. But some people, because of the fear, and some people are also advising them, don't go to the hospital. The doctors, when they cut your breast, you die. I'm here to tell them that it's not the cutting of the breast that kills, but the spread of the disease to other parts. When they say it's too late, how would you feel when you have gone to doctor and doctor says, okay, I've seen this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the breast, I'm going to do this, and out of fear you run and come, go run and come. When you come, he will tell you that I saw this thing, but now it's too late. So which one do you want to hear? Whether it's too late or this is what I've seen, I can do something. So I want all women to know and examine their breasts, and if they get to know their breasts, they are the first to notice any change, and they should go to hospital.
You know, you did mention that you're diabetic. Was it as a result of the cancer treatments?
No, I wouldn't say. Diabetic runs in my family, my father's family, so it came and I'm taking treatment. I take injection and everything, and I'm there. My daughter was just sharing with me how some people come to her hospital in outside Ghana, and they are losing their toes and they are losing their legs because they believe in taking herbs and doing other things. They don't come to hospital. Diabetic, they are not taking their medicine, so they come, they lose a toe, they go later on, they come, they lose a leg and all these things. So all this disease, you have to check, be aware. You know, you can live with it. It won't kill you. Know how to manage it.
You know? So is the treatment one time, or you have to survive forever on something?
I would say one time, but it's kind of a long treatment. So there are different treatments. Surgery, of course, you just have it one day, but it will take a while for you to recover. And then beyond surgery, chemotherapy usually would last about 4 to 5 months. So most of them will do it every 3 weeks for 6 cycles. Although, like I said, there are different drugs, excuse me, there are different regimens, so some may be even weekly. But usually the common ones we'll use will be every 3 weeks for about 6 weeks. Radiotherapy usually also would last for about 5 weeks. And then there are some tablets. Some people may need that's hormonal treatment. And for those who go on that, you may be on that for 5, now we even say 10 years. So that would be, let's say, the active treatment. And then beyond that, we observe you. So for those who survive and take Gladys, for instance, obviously is not on any treatment now for that. Beyond, even if you have to take the hormonal treatments, the longest duration now is the 10 years for that, but that's just one tablet you take every day. And up to recently, it's been more of 5 years, so most people have had to take that for 5 years. Current evidence is pushing us in the direction of giving it for 10 years, but beyond that. So even this, I mean, you kind of, I guess, even forget that you're on treatment. So the very active treatment period is about maybe 6-7 months.
Can you go on some tablets to prevent it?
Yes, you can, but I mean, once again, everything has its side effects. So it's not, although we know some tablets can prevent it, we wouldn't advocate that every woman should get up and start taking those tablets because they have side effects as well. So when your risk is high, and we haven't talked about this, but there are certain, Auntie Gladys talked about diabetes running through the family. When things run through families, they are related to genes. And there are certain genes that we know are associated with breast cancer. So when you've had a number of people in your family have it, or certain other characteristics, that's why when you come to hospital, we always talk to you. We say we are taking a history. So from that history, we determine whether you have a high risk of having it run in your family. Then there are certain tests that can be done, the genetic tests. If you did that, and we know that, yes, you have these genes, and so it confirms that your risk is high, then we could consider putting you on those medications. But these are things we talk about because there's always the positive side to it. There could be a negative side. So we look at it if we think the benefit is going to outweigh the risk. So for somebody who is high risk, yes, you can go on that. For the general population, we wouldn't advise that.
So why are we taking the education now? Because once you mentioned the 16 or 17-year-old, then I'm thinking we should be going to the schools. Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, we've been going to the school. Recently, we went we went to our 3 schools. And then about last 2 weeks, we were at Nima, and I went to a school, and then we educate them. There was a young girl who also have, doctor was a fiber, I don't know the name, and the big lump inside, and he has come to the hospital, and they are going to remove it for her. So we educate them, because if they get to know their breast, when they grow, they are not going to be deceived. They are the best person to teach their mothers and to teach. So we teach them the importance of breast self-examination. We give them handout for them to do their own breast examination, and then they can teach their mother, grandmother, and anybody can be the future advocates for.
Any plans for the spiritual camps?
That's a tough one to tackle, but I mean, I think the psychologists are doing something about that. I was on a program recently, and they mentioned that. So it is important that we target them as well, because we tend to get a lot of, if I can say so, problems from their end. We cannot stop people from praying or from going to these places, but the message, I think, is to try and do it together. If you want to pray, by all means pray, but don't neglect the physical treatments that has to be done.
Can I share something?
Yes.
That maybe if we go and pray, prayer is good, but let us do it the Jesus way. When he has prayed for somebody, he said, go and show yourself to the authorities. So the doctor said he has seen a lump. You've gone, you feel that you have been healed. Still go and let the same doctor see that, oh, this thing I saw is no more there. But than you to stay home and think, oh, you are healed. And sometimes you see the armband of these things, they are from camps, and because they were told they've gone to stay there to pray for about a month or so, and they come back with a spread disease, you know. So maybe, I mean, God, if you go through surgery or take a medicine or you are prayed for and you get here, it's the same God who has done it. So you thank God. But to say that you are healed when you know something is not right, you know, it's not good.
Yeah. Dr. Dede, do you pray with your patients sometimes?
With them, not. I can just remember one particular patient who asked to be prayed for, so we prayed together. Usually I'll pray with them as I say my prayers, but not with them. You also cannot impose your religion on your patient. So if a patient requests for it, why not? Because I'm a Christian, I'll pray with you. But I mean, I pray, God directs me in the work I do. But I wouldn't kind of impose that on you if that is not what you want.
Finally, perhaps we can talk about lifestyle changes. Anything that we should change?
Well, generally, I would say there's not too much we can do in terms of prevention. So that's why we talk a lot about early detection. But having said that, it's good to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So when we look at all the things that help us to maintain a healthy lifestyle, they also would have some impact on breast cancer or breast disease. Exercising is good, maintaining a good weight, not being overweight, avoiding alcohol, smoking. All these things generally help to remain healthy, and they may have an impact as well on breast cancer. So specifically to say, if you did these things, you probably will not get breast cancer, I cannot say that, but it helps you generally to maintain
maybe with
lifestyle.
your experience, is there something you want to say with lifestyle changes?
Well, lifestyle changes, maybe I have avoided a lot of fats, and the exercise, if I say I do a lot of exercise, my doctor will kill me because he's been asking me to do, and I always, Dr. Denson, sorry, I couldn't. So yeah, maybe we have to do more of this that doctor has said, but I don't take alcohol, I don't smoke, and I've never done that.
Amazing. I think that you have a very inspiring story, and I'm sure that we're all so proud of you. I thank you for sharing your story. There is more that you shared with our other colleagues on PM Express Personality Profile, which will be aired today. So I urge all of you to stay on. You will see more of Auntie Gladys, some of the things that she hasn't said here that she would reveal later on this evening on Personality Profile on PM Express. Dr. Famizade, thank you so much. It's only breast cancer that can take you out from your work. Yeah, because you're so passionate about it.
I am.
Yeah, thank you. But are we doing enough education, do you think?
I think we can do a lot more. So, I mean, I guess this October month, Joy has tried, you are doing education. I think we should keep it up. Let's not just restrict it to October, but as much as we can, let's continue to talk about it. And like Auntie Gladys said, I think getting the young people is good. We don't expect them to get it, but if we get it inculcated in them at this early age, then when they grow and they notice something, they will remember that, oh, I'm supposed to go to hospital. They're not going to sit at home and do all sorts of things. So I think not so much as we are trying to help them to pick up things now, because there probably won't be much to pick up. But I think at this age, it's good to get them to start thinking in the direction that when something is wrong, you need to go to hospital.
Sure. I thank you for your time this morning.
Welcome.
All right, stay with us. We've got talk coming your way here on the show.